Okay.
No limits hold us back. We're chasing tomorrow. For multifamily pros, the future's at our door. Experimentation's the spark. We watch it glow. We watch it glow.
We're gonna get started just a minute, guys. Just making sure all the things came on.
Tune in, ask questions, and experiment.
I'll get to enjoy some music from Suno that I made on a whim last night instead. While I'm figuring this out.
We might soar, that's part of the show. But every fail's a lesson helping us grow. It's multifamily AI lab love. Together.
Awesome. Thank you, Brennan. That worked.
We're live, we're loud, and we're ready to explore. No limits hold us.
Not just a rock song, Mike. This is the theme song for Multifamily AI Lab. Suno is my guilty pleasure. I've made like 175 songs. I can't help myself. I just anything that pops into my head. I made my best friend a song about chicken tenders for his kid. Hilarious. So Suno is my guilty pleasure AI app. All right, that's enough of that. We'll jump into things a bit. So awesome. I'm really excited to do this. This is something I've been talking about for well over a year now. And knocking lights down. That's all right. That's what happens when you're live. I've been talking about doing this for well over a year now. You know, AI has become a really big part of my life for probably the past 18 months. I'd say I got serious about ChatGPT in like summer of 2023. I think I really started to understand it fall December maybe of 2023. And now it's quite literally probably 50 or 100x my abilities of what I do. We're thinking. Thanks, Brennan, for the heads up. Audio. I don't need to hear other people. So I'm just gonna put that here. Is that audio better? Anyone can let me know. I'm getting text. Well, or Brendan, you can text me and let me know if it's still echoing. Um, but these these tools are really powerful, and I don't think a lot of people use them really well. It took me a long time to figure out how to use them, and frankly, I spend half my time playing with these things as it is, and it felt like maybe I should share that with people. So let me swap. Awesome, Stacy. Thank you. I'm glad we have a. I think I muted some stuff and fixed it. The fun of the first ones of these is you don't really know what you're doing yet, and so what I'm going to do is every week I'm going to be coming on and basically experimenting and trying to figure out things that I wonder if AI can do, and I'm going to see if I can make it do it. That might be writing a program. That might be um, let me mute my phone. Um, Toss it there. So I'm going to be present with everyone here. Um, so that might be writing a program, using AI to write a program or something to help me out. I've got you can see my ChatGPT account up. I've got lots of things I've created for myself over time. You can see I use this a little bit. Um, and experimenting. But what's had my attention lately and something I was been kind of anticipating coming out is Operator. Operator from OpenAI is their agent system. And just for context for people before they might ask, I do pay for the $200 monthly subscription. It is the best investment I've made in technology probably in my life. What it's unlocked from the ability to learn, the ability to do things well. It cites sources. I don't worry about hallucinations because it can show me exactly where it pulled the data from. So back to the Operator, big picture. And for everyone, I want this to be interactive. If this is just me talking and explaining how to do things, that's going to be boring. And that's not going to be any fun for anyone involved. So I don't know if any of this stuff is going to work. That's part of the fun of it. I think it will. In theory, it will. But a lot of that's going to come down to the prompts that we come up with and that we're able to create. One of the big things with AI is you think about it like an intern or like a new employee. You have to give those people really specific, concise, clear direction for them to do the thing that you want to do. And if you AI is the same way. Most of the time when I get a bad result back, when I go back and look at my prompt or I go back and look at what I asked, I didn't actually ask a good question. It was vague, there was lack specificity. And that ultimately causes problems. And for a lot of people, that causes them to give up. And I've taken the approach that there's smart people I know who are saying that this is good, which means if it's not good for me, the problem is me, not the tool. And that somewhat stubbornness kind of drove me into starting to really experiment with these and see what we can do. So, what's unique about Operator? So, Operator, and if you have it, which I think you have to have ChatGPT Pro. It might be available in the lower levels, but I'm pretty sure it's just in ChatGPT Pro. Operator creates a virtual machine with a browser that the AI can interact with, along with a keyboard and mouse, so it can do things on your behalf. That sounds, depending on how familiar you are with tech, that may or may not sound interesting. I'll give you some like non-multifamily examples. I could ask it to, well, here, we'll just do some because this is meant to be about demos. Let's say I want to book a lunch for tomorrow at a popular restaurant in downtown Austin for a business lunch with a new client. Now, with this, I can be kind of vague because I'm not trying to get specific information out of it. I want it to give me feedback. And when I submit this, it's now, I want my alerts on because it'll tell me when it's done. And now you can see it's opened this browser here. And it's going to start searching. It's searching for popular restaurants in downtown Austin. And this is just going to run in the background. So we can let this run for a while. It'll check in with me and give me an alert when I need to do something. And while that's running, I'll come over here. We can start another one, which is part of why I love this. And Stacy, I completely agree. I think, so I have kind of a shifting opinion on this. 12 to 18 months ago, it depends on the use case. For production products, for companies that are trying to automate and implement processes, prompt design is going to be critical. For the individual looking to do one thing, these are getting so much better at figuring things out and figuring out the steps that it's less critical for the small things, but it will absolutely always be critical for the big things. I actually I'll pull this up really quick. I have an entire GPT I created just to help me write system prompts and to write good prompts. and it puts it in the XML format, which is the right format that I want. So when I want to do something, I come here and tell it what I want to do, and it helps me write the prompt, which I could sit and spend 30 minutes writing, but ultimately it saves me more time to do it this way. Let's check it on our reservation. It's still looking awesome. Which is a cool, again, that's the cool thing about Operator is, a lot of people have assistants or VAs. I have unlimited VAs right now because I can just start 50 of them and have them start doing whatever they're doing. So for Operator, with us trying to push the limits today, there are 3 things I want to try. I think we can use it to get comp rates. So if you doing a market survey, we're going to try and figure out if we can craft a prompt through trial and error and some iteration to send Operator to a property website and to return us all of the availability information. What apartments are available, the apartment numbers, square footage, the dates, the rents, and give that all back to us in a format that's digestible and that we could paste or move somewhere else. That's one. The second one is we're going to pick a property and its address, and then we're going to ask it to tell us about the area. And we're going to tell it that we're a leasing agent who works at this property, and I constantly have people asking me about the neighborhood, and I want to be able to explain it better. And we're going to go see what it finds. And then the third thing we're going to do is we're going to use a property, just a sample property, representative property, and we're going to go and ask it to aggregate together all the reviews and then give us feedback. Now, full disclosure, if these work perfectly or even like to the point where we would be happy with using them day to day after this hour and spend 20 minutes on them each, I will be shocked. But the process of what I've learned with these tools is you get it to where it kind of works, and then you take those lessons and you improve it. You make your prompts better. You make more clarity. You give it better instructions. And Operator's really cool is that it like kind of lets you step in midstream. And then at the end, if we do get something good, we're going to save the task, and then we're going to schedule the task so it runs automatically in the background. So I could have it pull comps for me every Monday morning with the task that we crafted together. So we'll jump into it and we'll see if this actually works. I hope it does, but we will see. Let's start with rents. And I didn't prepare any prompts or anything for this because I want to talk through it with y'all and tell y'all how I think about it. I tend to start broad and see what it's capable of doing on its own. And then, yeah, that's a good ad, Mike. We will add that in 100%. I love that because we'll give it that in the prompt. I like that a lot. That's a really good ad, Mike. So what I like to do is be kind of broad. So, and when I'm testing and trying to see if things work, I like to use properties that I'm familiar with because it lets me look and kind of evaluate the data as I'm seeing it. This is what I did previously. I don't want to use that one today. I want to use a different property. It's a property that's near and dear to my heart. It's actually something I managed when I first worked at Roscoe Properties, which became RPM in 2008. It's called Tombaleo. It's here in Austin. So we're going to ask it for a prompt. It's probably going to be return like mediocre results, but then we're going to improve the prompt so we can get better results. So I searching ability apartments South Austin. So I'm specifying where it is because it's going to go search. And if I tell it since it's South Austin, that will help narrow down the search. I could give it the address. I have it, but not everyone's always going to have the address. So I'll keep it broad. Specifically, Tombaleo Apartments. And then because, and I'm skipping a little bit of a step. I know they have studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. So I'm going to specify that so it knows to look for availability in all of those and not just like it might, because if I just ask for availability, it might return me 4 back. And there's 12 available. So I want to try and get all of them. I know there are multiple floor plans, studios, bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms. Um, I would like a comprehensive breakdown of the availability, and please include for each available apartment the apartment number, the availability date, number of bedrooms and bathrooms, um, and the rent. So we'll start here. And this is our first. We'll see how this works. So it's kicking off in a second. You're going to see it pop open a browser. Now, the cool thing with this is we'll see, it gives me the save task. If we get this task right, we can save it. So I'll make this a little bigger so y'all can see. Doing a Bing search, found the apartments, and you'll see when I mouse over, it says take control because you can watch these back later. And this is going to be interesting. I might step in here. Yeah, take control. Okay. Okay. So that's a cool little thing, right? Like I got to step in, it needed my help. Now I'm going to tell it to finish up, resume operator. And now it's going again. It'll take a minute to load. That website looks like kind of hot garbage with how it rendered, but that's okay. So you can watch it. Now when you're building these things, it comes in handy because you get to kind of see what it's doing, and that helps you troubleshoot the prompt and helps you try to make it better through that process. So I'm going to let this run for a minute because it's going to take a few minutes for it to do this, and let it run in the background. Now we can come back when this is done and we can rewatch all of its activity. And when you rewatch the activity, that's a great time to find problems. It's doing a good job. It found the availability screen. We'll see if it can abstract out the data, but it's going to reading through that right now. So if it does stumble, it will tell me where it stumbled. I can go look at what it did, and I can update my prompt or change what I'm doing to be able to overcome that. So it's going to be here for a minute, clicking through these. Like you can see, here's, if you click the breakdown, here's what it's doing. It's looking at these apartments, going to the next floor plan, right? So we'll let that run because that's the cool thing about it. You can let it run. While that's running, what was our second one? The neighborhood, right? Mike, we'll try and do your ICPs. So I am a leasing agent at what's one of my favorite properties? We'll do a streetlights property because I am a fanboy of them as a developer. Bowen, Maine, Austin, Texas. A lot of attractions. Many residents often ask about the lifestyle in the surrounding area, where they are new to town and looking for things to do. I'd like to be better able to give them feedback so their experience is a quality one. Maybe we'll add a little extra here in this one. My typical prospects are retirees, young professionals who enjoy the nightlife, or young married couples. Please provide a framework of ideas for each of them. All right. So now we can watch this one get going for a minute, and we'll see if and I like to keep, especially right now because we're experimenting, right? Like we're nothing we do is going to be in its final form. Uh, that returned fast. An operator, right? Yeah. Okay. Um, those are great suggestions. I want you to search and validate with social proof and reviews that I could even reference or send to them. In general, just as a quick aside, like for most leasing agents, like this would be gold, right? Like they don't even get this far. But we're trying to push limits, so we're going to try and get some more specificity. All right, that kicked it off. And again, let's see what it, you know, and it's going to search. It's going to be reviewing all of those searches. Um, and I'll let this run for a little while because this will be running. We'll check. Let's check back on our lunch reservation. Um, on a reservation. Um, okay, there we go. So found a reservation for Roaring Fork in downtown Austin for tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Um, I don't really like Roaring Fork. What about a sushi place? We'll set that one off. And again, this is going to run in the background. And let's check on our apartment availability. All right. I'm going to pull up the Tombaleo website so we can actually check these. Okay. Um, so I think we have a decent start here. Let's see. Comprehensive breakdown of available units. Studio. All right. So those are these. There's 3 available. We have 129, 400 square feet. Um, I'm sorry, 124. Ooh, 400 square feet, 959. It's this one. That's right. 129, 400 square feet, 1019. That's right. 225, 400 square feet, 1019 available. Where it found those availability dates. I think it was on a different screen. Yeah. Um, available today, and then available May 7th. So, um, I'm actually, I know my camera just blurred. Stop it, camera. I'm actually pleasantly surprised with that. And the blurriness will take care of itself here in a couple minutes. I don't want to have to reset my camera in OBS, but okay. Well, I'm just gonna be blurry for a while. We'll deal with it. Y'all aren't here to look at me anyway. You're here to look at what's going on. Um, I'm actually pleasantly surprised with that. We've got some more to check though. So this is a contact us. So this studio, I knew they had these studios. This studio is not available. I believe there's not another one studio bedroom floor plan there. So as far as studios, we got like shockingly good coverage. That was better than I expected it to be on a first blush. All right, 1 bedroom. Um, we got a couple of the 596s in here. It says there's one available. 217, right? 596, 1239. That's right. I will tell y'all also, one of the other um my fingers are in focus. Uh, Try not to curse, but fuck it. I'm just not gonna look left. Um, so that one bedroom is right. We have the 673s, which are this one's contact us, so that one's not going to return anything. Our 673, three available. 108, 673, 1039. 213, 673, 1039. Man, I need to move back to Tombaleo. These are cheap. And 673, 211, available April 14th. And I forget where Rent Cafe puts the availability dates, but I'm going to trust that those availability dates are right because everything else is right. We'll see if we can maybe find it elsewhere. So that's correct. And then we have, what do we have? 2-bedroom, 103, 781. Contact us, not going to have. Contact us, not going to have. Contact us, not going to have. We have one available. It should be unit 103. What's crazy is I used to live in that apartment. That's funny. And I paid a lot more than 1459 6 years ago. But that's I'm candidly, I don't know about y'all. I'm really impressed. I'm kind of coming away impressed. And I told we got this comment from Stacy here. I think I can pop it on the screen. Yeah. So Stacy, I'll talk you through how I would do that. I wouldn't have it run multiple properties necessarily at once. What I would do is, because this one's good and we're happy with it, let's talk about what you do next. So I know this ran pretty well. It found the data I was looking for, and I'm really happy with that data, right? Now, the thing we'll do after this is we're going to take that prompt, we'll run it again, but now I'm going to specify output format. I'm going to tell it that I want it as a JSON object and I want it organized in a certain way, or I want it formatted for a table, and it will do all those things for me. So I can, I'm sorry. I know I kept telling you I'm not going to look left, but I keep looking left and it's driving me freaking insane. Let me see if I can refresh my camera. I'm going to close OBS and restart it, and that should fix it. Give me 1 second. Or actually, no, wait. Video broadcast. Okay, that fixed it. Okay. Sorry, I can focus now. All right, so the way I would do this is we'll work on exit format right now. I want to talk more about how we schedule tasks. So this worked really well, right? We're all pretty happy with this. So I'm going to save this task. So if I was running a property, I could have several of these tasks. And yes, on the front end today, with where the technology is, it will probably require someone for each comp of a property to go through this exercise, be able to set it up, get your prompt right to where you're returning the results that you're looking for. And then it should, and then we want to play with some of the formatting stuff, which we'll do, because the cool thing about this is once we save it, we can tweak it and we can run it again. And that's how you iterate and try and make things better, right? So like what we just accomplished, to me, is a really great starting point tool. It's not perfect, but we can add to it. We can improve the output format. We can do things to make it to where it would be really easy to assemble into an Excel spreadsheet or a market survey. And really what's going to happen is they're going to continue to add tools to what these things can do. So right now it's just control the browser. But the path of progress, and the probably very soon path of progress, is that you're going to be able to have this create Excel files for you from the data that is abstracted. You'll say, I'm running these 10 tasks, and I want the results of those 10 tasks aggregated together in a report. So I'm going to name this one the Tombaleo Market Survey. And then this is the prompt that we wrote, right? Those are our instructions. We can edit that later. Now, one of the cool things about Operator 2 is to save it time in the future. I can tell it now that we know it kind of works. I don't need to send it to go to Bing and search and find the property anymore because we know it can find the property. Now, we also know that it required me to step in and fix a CAPTCHA. So it's not going to be fully autonomous yet, but it can run in the background. So you save this task. And we have this here. So now I can schedule these. Let's go to another operator and refresh. Now I have this here. I can click on this anytime I want, and I can just run it. So it's already prompted. It's already ready to go. And I may take that back. I may amend that. I think I'm blending two things because in ChatGPT, you can do schedule tasks here with GPT-4o. So I don't really use these that often yet. I haven't had the need, but you could use this for recurring searches or brainstorm 10 headlines for social posts for me each day, and give it context as to what you're trying to do there. So there is what I've noticed with these models is they tend to build things in kind of pieces, and then they find their way into each other, and to be kind of a cohesive experience. So I have no doubt that me being able to save this, where were we? That at some point I'm going to be able to say 9 a.m. Monday morning, run in the background. When it hits the stall for the CAPTCHA, the user gets an alert. They can go click on it, validate it, and then say, all right, now you can go again. And it'll pick up and it'll start going. And to me, it's candidly, if I was in the real estate data business right now, I would be really worried. If I was CoStar, if I was Apartment IQ, I'm a huge fan of the product of Hello Data and what they do. Like, big fan. I think Hello Data is maybe they expose their data via API so other people can use it, and they get it in a way that other people don't seem to in terms of it, just based on where their pricing and everything is. But why am I going to pay Radix or Apartment IQ or Smart Rent, to give me comp reports and data when I can and pay them a lot of money when for a $200 a month account subscription, if I take the time and use the intention to do so, I can have it happen automatically, and be done for me and give me the exact same data. So to me, that's really interesting. I don't know if that's interesting to any of y'all. But that feels really powerful. Let's check back in on our other things. 1010, I like 1010. They don't have online reservations. Now, Google has a thing that would call them. But let me focus on places that accept reservations. So any of y'all have ever had an assistant or like a VA? It's kind of like dealing with a green VA, right? Like, find me a restaurant. And they come back with like, I don't like that restaurant. Find me a different restaurant. It's like, well, this one doesn't take reservations. Like, well, that's not what I asked you for. I asked you for something with reservations. So you remind it a little bit, but through that process, that's how you refine these prompts. So then, because the next time when you know that about that assistant, you're going to ask the question different. You're going to explain it different to them, and say, hey, give me a reservation at this restaurant, or like, here's the places I don't really want to go. They're eventually, if it picks 1010, I'm going to be really annoyed. But the other thing that they haven't incorporated into these tools yet here in OpenAI is memory. So as memory starts to get built out into these, and then go from there. And Mike, that's a really good idea. I said they have the best coverage in terms of data from what I've seen, and I need to talk to someone over there. Based on some of the stuff they pull together, I think their database structure is a little bit different. the flaw in a lot of comp data is that it's property comps, but people don't shop for properties, they shop for floor plans. And there's some things that from a database architecture side of things that I think you could do where you're relating floor plans to one another in a market. Because if I have no one bedrooms, I don't really care what the one bedroom rents are at my comps. I'm not competing with them. A bunch of two bedrooms, like that's where I need to understand. Or if I have a 500 square foot one bedroom, I don't care what the rents are on a 950 square foot one bedroom, right? Like there's a range. No renter is looking for both of those things. So, no, we went fancy. We're going to Uchi for lunch. But they don't actually shop for those two things. And Mike, I know you know that because we've talked a lot about this floor plan searching and portfolio marketing because it's silly to try and make people side by side properties because that's not actually the decision making that they're going through. Um, I agree that like there's a lot you could do. And I don't even know if I would use Chat GPT for that. I would probably build something using OpenAI's API that could be a little bit more custom in terms of the processing, and also in the output. There's only so much you can do on the surface side. Okay, we have our first little downfall and flaw, in that it. And this is I'm glad this happened. It's a good example. Uchi also doesn't offer lunch reservations, where I clearly just told it I wanted to talk to a place that accept reservations. So it doesn't always work, right? Now that if I specified a restaurant, I could probably figure it out. I was doing an experiment with a friend of mine a couple days ago, where we were looking for flights for a conference and hotels near the conference. It actually did a really good job with that. So it's hit or miss. The big thing is to just stick with it, right? All right, I think we can abandon this one. Um, we will start a new conversation here, and I want to edit this and say, please return the results in a table format that I can easily copy and paste into Microsoft Excel. Now, again, soon enough, I'm just going to tell it to make an Excel file for me to download. We can't do that today. So I'm going to save it. I've updated that prompt, and now we're trying to iterate. It might get worse. We're going to find out. It might get worse. It might get better. So let's let that run. Once that kicks off, we know we have to do the CAPTCHA, so I'll hang around to do the CAPTCHA, or maybe the cookies will pertain and we won't have to. The cool thing about this is it remembers what it did last time by saving the task, not just the prompt, but it remembers the places it went to and why it went there as part of this video. And actually, we didn't need the CAPTCHA this time, because I guess it was cookied in on the virtual machine that this is running on. So we'll let that run. We'll see what comes back on the other side of things. Ooh, I need to humanize myself here. Got that earlier. Choose all the hats. That's a hat. 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 Oh, come on. Um, hats. Give it back to it. Zoom operator. And I shouldn't have done that so fast because I when I was resuming, I don't know if any of y'all saw, it said describe what you did while you took control. Stacy, I have one that I should probably just share somewhere in my Notion database. I actually save almost all my prompts. But that's a really good idea and something I could do pretty easily. And I'd love to have other people contribute to it. And maybe I can tie that to this multifamily AI lab in some way and throw it up on a website and make them available and make it to where people can submit their prompts and things that they like. I think that's a really good idea. I really appreciate you mentioning. because that's something I think would be cool. Um, and I can link out to the videos and clips like this for people who don't catch these live and kind of want to see what we're experimenting with and what we're trying to make happen. So thank you for sharing that. Um, but I do have a database in my Notion instance that's got like I don't know, probably 75, 80 prompts they're just from when I was bad at it to when I kind of figured some stuff out to, as I said, now, if you like me using O1 Pro for almost everything, I don't have to write quite as good of prompts as I used to. Like, I don't have to tell it to think step by step. I don't have to tell it to think about it and think out loud and do the things that you used to be able to do to trick the AI to give you better results. Um, like a lot of those legacy prompts aren't as necessary anymore unless you're doing stuff unless you're doing again stuff that's really structured where your output format matters, where it's in a kind of production environment where you want to be able to replicate, maybe the data is different but you want to replicate the quality of results each time. So here, I'll let this keep running. This is still looking for our things to do. And then all right, what do you think about that, Stacy? Those dates and everything look the same as what we had. We have same basic units availability. So it found it all again. I think it actually cheated. I think it found this pop-up and it's reading the pop-up. I don't know where that pop-up came from, but I'm not going to argue with it because it worked. It has all the relevant information it needs, right? It didn't do it. It didn't go look at them the way that I looked at them. Um, but there you go. And so you have one of these designed for each property. You have it run, and then you paste it. The other thing that's let's happen. So when I would do deep market studies, um, I would go back and I would look at availability. Like let's say I had a client under contract to buy a property, um, and I wanted to track what was going on in that market. So I would not only build a comp study, I would build a timeline for the availability because if they have 9 one-bedrooms available, but 7 of those are 90 plus days out, I'm not really worried about it, right? Like, there's still a lot of time for those to get leased. Like, what's on the market today? What's coming in the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks? That's what's going to affect my pricing. That's what's going to affect their pricing most of the time. Probably going to have 25 units available in a floor plan. If none of them are available for 4 months, it's irrelevant. So I would map that out and then I would go back daily. Not actually daily, maybe at least twice, 3 times a week, and I'd update it. So I'd have snapshots in time. So I could also then see what was leasing, what was falling off the market, how they had changed their rents, if they got any new notices. That was so time consuming. My clients loved it. It gave me a ton of information to be able to speak as an expert on the market and know everything that was happening at every comp because I know if they lower the rents, I know if they raise the rents, I know if units are falling off the market, I know if they come back. I have all of that for me because my job as as an operator, as someone who works with property owners and investors, is to be the expert. That helped me be the expert. If I had had something like this would have saved me hours, like hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of work. And I could have spent that time instead of doing data entry and transposing data or having, someone who worked for me do it, actually thinking about the implications of that data. Like, what does this actually mean? What is this actually telling me? So I think this one was a raging success. I'm it's kind of making me want to build a data product and go scorched earth on the data market if I'm being candid. Um because it's so easy. Well, just like everyone gets all the data they want for 99 bucks. Like compete with that, CoStar. But but it's yeah, so that was a success. We'll pause that one. We might come up in a future one. I might come back to this and we'll try to work on format. We'll try to work on figuring out how to aggregate them together and kind of go to the next step. All right, so let's see what we ran into here. My prospects need like a hot sheet. On things to do when you produce one for each. Now, this might not even require operator, right? Like, and a lot of what I'm doing here on this one, candidly, I would normally do with O1 Pro, or I could do a GPT-4o that's connected to a browser. And that's a really good question, Mike. I'm addicted to deep research. I'll just preface by saying that. Like, it may end up being like terrible for me because the ability to pick a topic and say, I want to learn about X, and then say, and this is why I want to learn about it. And I have a prompt that I loved. I don't use this much anymore because the tools have gotten better, called the fisherman's prompt. In the fisherman's prompt, it would be, I am a this level blank. I want to learn, blank so I can blank. And then it has a lot of structure and rules. And then you give it subtopics and it makes you a book with each chapter being a subtopic. And that was really powerful for me to learn because I could come back and ask questions. And a lot of times I was learning about tech stuff and like learning about how databases work. And by the way, I did not know this had an online notepad. The fact that it actually doesn't have an online notepad is the fact that it went and found an online notepad at online.notepad.org so it could write me notes. And if it's about to give me this text file, my brain might melt. Because it just downloaded one. So that's going to be interesting. That's why I love to play with these, right? Because it surprises you constantly, and it says it's downloading the document and syncing it. So, wow. So so back to what I was talking about. I had this prompt that gave books. You could ask questions. A lot of times when I was learning things, I'd say, I don't have a tech background. My background's in property management, training, you know, commercial real estate investment. Can you give me examples based on that world where I come from, where I am an expert, to help me generalize and understand the concept that you're explaining to me now about database architectures and that sort of thing? And it would. And it was amazing. And I learned that's frankly why I quit my job and started this company, is because I learned so much over about a 4-month period that I knew this was going to be incredibly powerful. So, waiting for the file to load completely. We're gonna see if this spits this out. I'm a little skeptical. I'm a little skeptical, but I'm hopeful at the same time. Um, downloads is blocked. Yeah. So their virtual machine, that's what I suspected. Like, it thinks it can download things. The virtual machine that they're running through doesn't let it, which would be smart, I think. Um, Unless it finds it somewhere. Yeah. Okay. So we'll let that die and kind of as it's running. Do we have anything going on this one? That was done. Oh, we were going to do reviews. Let me start reviews, then I'll finish my thought. Well, we have before 12 minutes left. What's a property we want reviews for? We'll do the Kinsey and the Domain. Another streetlights property, by the way. Told y'all I'm a fanboy. Beautiful property in the middle of the Domain at the end of Rock Rose Street. I'm thinking of living at Kinsey in the Domain. I know there are numerous. Now, I'm going to point out something here. Even if I worked at the property, I would tell it that I'm thinking of living there, because the persona I want and the perspective I want is the perspective of my renters, right? So I'm kind of like role playing a bit the role of a renter to get the information I want as the leasing agent or as the property manager or as the regional manager to have that come back. Because if it thinks of it from this perspective, it's more likely to go find all the reviews and find what you're really looking for. So I know there are numerous review sites. Hard to keep to find and check them all. View find reviews for the Kinsey across the I'm going to specify some like Google places slash maps, Yelp, apartments.com, apartment list, and any others you feel might be relevant. So we'll let that kick off. Um, so I had this prompt. I learned a ton. Operator is that on steroids. Um, I was sick for a couple weeks and was really kind of focusing on my health recently, and I had a doctor mention to me the what's called polyvagal theory, which is the gut brain connection. And I'm gonna try not to nerd out on this because I basically asked it about it. It gave me a 23-page report that I could probably sit and talk with a doctor now, and not as a practitioner or like I'm not gonna be diagnosing people, but I have a really, really strong framework of understanding how this, autonomic system works in our bodies. And like for fun fact, did you know there's 100 million neurons in the stomach lining? It's the equivalent of a second brain, or that the bandwidth going from your gut to your brain is 4 times as big as the bandwidth going from your brain to your gut. Fun fact. Learned that with deep research, and it took 13 minutes, and everything is cited. It is a grad student level report that would have taken that grad student a month to make. So, um, how would it compare, operator versus deep research? I have a sneaking suspicion that deep research uses a version of operator in the background. We just don't see it. Based on how it searches. I asked it for some scientific data, and it was citing NIH studies, it was citing CDC studies, it was pulling. I was doing some AI research. It went to archive, ARXIV, the archive for papers related to computer science and AI. It went and pulled papers from there. So it has. I think deep research is running some version of this in the background. It's just not showing it to you. So that's a really good experiment for next week. I'm gonna make a note. We'll pick a couple markets and maybe pick a set of comps, maybe pick a sub market and maybe pick an MSA and see what we can get deep research to do. I like that suggestion, Mike. I think I would love to try. Now you've piqued my curiosity. I'm going to fight the urge to do it right when this ends, and save that for in public with everyone next week. Um, but that's a really good idea. Thank you for sharing that. Um, you know what I just realized? I can take control of this and probably download this file. Maybe not. Okay, so that's a riddle for another day. I got to figure out how to get back to this parent directory and get these files out of here. Um, but in terms of the output, right? Like, it's not perfect. This may be one that we return to in the future on trying to like figure out how to do this. Our prompt was pretty broad. It may be that it's better to run these to not blend the um the personas and just run them as separate personas and then bring them together afterwards. That's usually when I get results that I'm one of the first things I think of when I get results that I'm not in love with is that I need to simplify. I've asked it to do too many things, and while these are continuing to get more powerful, there's still. I mean, it's still like um. No, so remember I mentioned this earlier. Write a short summary and help operator keep working smoothly. What did you do while you had control? So that's awesome, right? Like you can say, hey, you forgot to do this thing, or you were clicking on the wrong link in a loop. I fixed it, and then it'll learn from that and do better. I will stop this one. We'll let it just sit. It's not gonna hurt anything. Okay, we're still doing results, but if we look here, We can look at what it's been doing. So look for Kinsey reviews, been on uh, apartment ratings, Yelp, apartments.com, look at Bird Eye Link, like, uh, and again, all this is being recorded, so you can go back and look at it and see what it did, which I've really found helpful because I can figure out you can actually take control midstream. I believe I think I did that on this. That may have been Anthropic, but I'm pretty sure that. So it's pretty powerful. Does anyone have any questions? Like we're kind of nearing the end of this thing, and I love the input by the way and the feedback from everyone. It helps me kind of frame through what I'm thinking. But let's take last 5 minutes or so. If it doesn't have to be about what we did today. Just any AI questions. I'm happy to give my 2 cents or help where I can. And our project next week is going to be pushing deep research for market data. If that works, Mike, if we can get it to give us historical data, um, CoStar is going to be in a bit of a pickle. Who's going to pay $1,200 for a CoStar license when you can pay $200 a month and have it all done for you? I don't think a lot of people will. All right. So here's our reviews back. So something I would change here as I'm looking at this is I would probably want it to tell me the number of reviews, right? So this is an example of somewhere where I would try to improve the prompt if I were to do it again. And I'd say, because I just told it to summarize the reviews, right? Like give me to check them all and let me know what's going on. I could get a lot more specific in that. And that may be something we come back to on a future date too, is tell me the number of reviews and identify themes, pattern. They give us a little bit of themes and patterns, right? Like the staff, noise. There's some like consistency a little bit there across these. It is probably I'm not familiar with Bird Eye. I don't know if y'all are. Something I have to peek at and see what it is. But apartments.com and Yelp are ones that are used quite often in our industry. The difference between those two ratings is kind of stark. To say the least. I wonder if looking at this screen, if Bird Eye is actually Google, possibly. It has Google 175 and Bird Eye 0. So those are again like just little examples of things that it's we tweak it, we make it better, we ask better questions, and over time, like what's happened for me is I've built up this tool set of prompts, custom GPTs, projects, and Claude and ChatGPT, Spaces and Perplexity. I don't use Copilot that much, but I use it a fair bit. Music and Suno when I need to do something silly and fun. Sora, Midjourney, where because I spent the time on the front end, which is what nobody wants to do, I can now go and do things that used to take me hours and minutes because I can have it be running. And then when I'm focused on something, I can focus on just that thing and doing the work that I need to do in the moment. And that's been incredibly powerful. And that's why I started this series. That's why I'm excited to do this every week on Mondays and share and experiment and see what we can make happen together. And maybe we'll discover some stuff. Maybe we'll break some stuff. Maybe we'll innovate and find some things. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And one last thing I want to say, but it escaped my brain. But I don't. That's okay. Happy to do it, Stacy. When we talk tomorrow, I can take you a little bit deeper dive through some of my stuff as well. And show you how I'm using them. I know for some people, like they hear $200 a month for AI, that sounds expensive. It is. Like I pay for 7 of them, right? I have all of them, Gemini, all of them. The $200 is by far the best investment in terms of what it enables for me to do. I'd rather spend just $200 on it and get rid of the rest, because it's not just Operator, it's O1 Pro, it's O3 Mini, it's not being capped on O1 Pro. I got kicked off of O1 like every day because I was using it too much. And Uh, so that's that I'm a big advocate, obviously. But the big thing that I always encourage people and that I'll leave y'all with is, and then we'll play the outro song so Mike can hear it again. Um, you have to start using these, and it's not going to be perfect initially. But if you think about anything as a human you've ever learned how to do, and I use tying my shoes as the example all the time. When you're a little kid, tying your shoes, you have to have rabbits that run around trees and go through holes, and like shoes are tied, right? Because you didn't know how to do it yet. Now, any of us who are on this could tie our shoes blindfolded, right? Like we don't need to see the laces because you have a framework of what's supposed to happen. Experimenting with these tools, being frustrated by them, but sticking with it and dedicating 30 minutes or an hour a day just to say, can I make this happen? Like my brain's been programmed to, I'll tell y'all, I got a haircut. Guess who advised me on my hairstyle for my haircut? I took 2 pictures of myself, submitted to ChatGPT, and said, with my face, what should my hair look like? It gave me really good feedback. Like I was showing my hairstylist today. She was laughing her ass off. So my brain's programmed to just go ask it everything. I got there because I was asking it little things, and as things started to work, I started to understand what to ask. So that's the biggest advice I can give to people is just find reasons to use it. Even if you can do the same thing faster and better right now, I promise you, you will not be able to do the same thing faster and better forever. These are going to get better. So I'm thrilled. Thank you to everyone who was in the comments in the chat and the feed. Thank you to everyone who watched. Let's drop that sick music again, and then we'll see y'all next week. I'll probably be pretty ranty on LinkedIn this week, so you'll see a lot of my face, a lot of videos. But here we go. Let's hit the outro. I don't know if it's playing or not. I'll let it play out. If it is, if it's not, that's okay. Thank y'all. I'll swap the stream down here in a minute, and y'all have a great rest of your day.